All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah, Quitash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who have taught me this truth and who rule well in this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and mercy unto you. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you are the true Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You are the true chosen people of the book. All right, so again, here we are back in this book, American Holocaust, man. Columbus and the Conquest of the New World. All right, this is going to be the fourth part. All right, and I'm going to pick up right where I left off at. All right, now when you go onto my YouTube page, all right, and type in American Holocaust like I did up here, all right, the previous lessons that I have done will pop up. All right, and you should go watch these lessons, man. All right, watch these videos because a lot of great information comes out, man. All right, on the very great hell, the very great violence, all right, and cruelty, all right, Esau Edom, all right, put upon you Jakes, man. All right, when he came over here on this side of the world, the Western Hemisphere, all right, when he met with you Israelites, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the Indies, man. All right, on the island of Hispaniola, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Trinidad, you know, all those islands. All right, and another book goes into it as well. All right, I done lessons on that book. The Devastation of the Indies. All right, by Bartolome de las Casas. I also went into that book. That book goes into it as well. All right, when Esau Edom, the Spaniards came over here on this side of the world, the hell and genocide, the very great hell and genocide, the very great cruel and violent acts that Esau Edom had done upon the Jakes, man, the Israelites, man. All right, the Negro man, Latino, Native American man of the Caribbeans, man. Those, you're all Israelites, man. You Jamaicans, you Cubans, you Puerto Ricans, you Haitians, you Dominicans. Y'all are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Okay? Now, the reason why I started going into this book, all right, because a couple weeks ago, you had Christopher Columbus Day. Right? Now, it's crazy how America, all right, gives this man a national holiday as if he's somebody that's supposed to be respected or reverenced. You know, this man was a great devil. He is a devil. You know? And this book goes into it. You know, him and his men, all the violent acts and genocide, all the millions of people that they slaughtered, all right? The millions of Jakes that they slaughtered. All right? So, I'm going to pick up exactly where I left off at. So, if you want this to make more sense, you know, cuz I'm going to just pick up where I left off at, man. All right, so I suggest you just watch these videos, man, especially the first one. All right, well, all of them, man, all of them are great, man. All right, so this is going to be part 4. And I'm going to just pick up right where I left off at, all right? So let's just go to page 74. All right, page 74. Let me get to it real quick. Let's get it. All right, yeah, right here. So let's just zoom in, all right? Let's zoom in real quick. I'll just pick up right where I left off at. So it says right here, it says, in the face of utter hopelessness, yeah, because that's what the Indians of these islands, of the Caribbean islands, all right, were going through. Great hell that it seems like there was no hope. The great slaughter that Esau Edom, the Spaniards, put upon the natives of the islands of the Caribbeans, man. Which those are Israelites, man. All right? The island of Jamaica, Hispaniola. All right? Which now the people that dwell on the island of Hispaniola today all right, are the tribe of Simeon and the tribe of Levi, which are the Haitians and Dominicans. All right, but also Cuba and Puerto Rico, they went to each and every one of these islands and committed great genocide and slaughter, very violent and cruel acts. All right, it says, in the face of utter hopelessness, the Indians began simply surrendering their lives. Some committed suicide. Many refused to have children, recognizing that their offspring, even if they successfully endured the Spanish cruelties, would only become slaves themselves. And others, wrote La Casas, all right, saw that without any offense on their part, they were despoiled of their kingdoms, their lands and liberties, of their lives, their wives and homes, all right? As they saw themselves each day perishing by the cruel and inhumane treatment of the Spaniards, all right? Yeah, because the things that the Spaniards did upon the Jakes, man, upon you Jakes, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, when they came on this side of the world, the Spanish conquest, all right, on this side of the world, the Western Hemisphere, bro, this book goes into it, man. All right, like it says right here. All right, crushed to the earth by horses, cut in pieces by swords, eaten and torn by dogs, many buried alive and suffering all kinds of exquisite tortures. That's what Esau Edom has done. All right, not just in this time alone, all right, but all throughout the course of history, man. This is no 1492 and beyond, man. You know? And what was considered modern day history. Modern day history, they the Renaissance era, they say the modern day history starts with the Renaissance era. And everything before that is, considered like ancient history or whatever. You know? All right? But even before that, man, going all the way back to the Greeks, man, Esau Edom has dealt treacherously with us, man. You know? And they have to pay for all of that, bro. All that history, bro. You see? All right? They, the prior lessons that I did before this one, it goes into, they would tie the Jakes up. They would have contests, all right, of how sharp their swords are. See if they could slice a man in half with one stroke. Ripping the pregnant women's bellies open, right? And then taking out the unborn child and banging them on the stones. This book goes into all of that, man. Same thing with the other book that I done lessons on, the devastation of the Indies. All right, it says they decided to abandon themselves to their unhappy fate, with no further struggles, placing themselves in the hands of their enemies that they might do with them as they liked. All right. Other natives in time did find ways to become reunited with whatever remained of their families. But when most wives and husbands were brought back together, they were so exhausted and depressed on both sides that they had no mind for marital communications, and in this way they ceased to procreate. As for the newly born, they died early because their mothers, overworked and famished, had no milk to nurse them. All right, you see? And this is all because of Esau Edom, man. All right, and for this reason, when I was in Cuba, 7,000 babies died in 3 months. All right, some mothers even drowned their babies, all right, from sheer desperation, while others caused themselves to abort with certain herbs that produce stillborn children. All right, in this way, husbands died in the mines, all right, wives died at work, and children died from lack of milk, while others had not time or energy for procreation. And And in some short time, this land, which was so great, so powerful and fertile, though so unfortunate, was depopulated. All right, because of the Spaniards, man. Esau, Edom, the Spaniards, which are Edomites, the so-called white man, depopulated all these islands. All right. It says by 1496, we already have noted the population of Hispaniola had fallen from 8 million to between 4 and 5 million, and they did that within the span of years, bro. Years. They killed millions and millions and millions of people, the so-called white man. Killed millions and millions of Jakes, man. Within just a short amount of years, man. All right? What does it say in what does it say in uh Ezekiel 35? All right? Because thou hast not hated blood, blood shall pursue thee. Esau, Edom has to pay for all the bloodshed, all the blood that he has shed throughout the course of history. That everything that he has done against Jake, all right, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob. All right, let's get that, man. All right, for thy violence against all right, Jacob. All right, Obadiah. All right, let's get it. Obadiah 1 and 10. All right, I'll start at verse 8. It says, shall I not in that day, save the Lord Yahweh, even destroy the wise men in Edom? Yeah, starting with all the way from the elite top banking families. All right, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all right, the Collins family, the DuPonts, right? Starting with them, all right, the Lord is going to destroy the wise men out of Edom. All right, shall I not in that day, say the Lord Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and the understanding out of the mount of Esau? And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. Every one of the house of Esau, not just one or two or three. Every single Edomite is going to be cut off by slaughter. Every single Edomite that exists is going to be cut off by slaughter. Why? Let's keep reading. It says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob. All right? For everything that Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, all right, did to his righteous brother Jacob. All right? Which is the Negro, Latino, Native American man, which are the true Israelites that the Bible speaks of. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. Yeah, he's going to be ashamed for everything that he has done. All right? Everything that he has done to the apple of the Lord's eye, which is the nation of Israel. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right? For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. All right, so there's going to come a time where Esau is going to be cut off forever. And that's after he goes into 1,000 years of slavery. And then the prophecy that's fulfilled in Obadiah 1 and 18, this 18th verse is going to be fulfilled. All right, which we're going to take the entire nation of Edom, ball them up and burn them. And there's never going to be an Edomite ever again on this earth. All right. That's right here in verse 18. Since I'm here, I'll read it. All right. So this is Obadiah 1 and 18. It says, in the house of Jacob a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, which represents the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom of Israel. All right. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them, meaning we're going to burn the Edomites up, and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord Yahweh has spoken it. All right, this is the Lord said it, so it's going to happen. All right, for the Lord Yahweh has spoken it. There's not going to be any remaining of the house of Esau. There's not going to be no Edomite nation anymore. That time is coming. All right. After Yahushua returns. All right. And starting with Yahushua, the nation of Israel, all right, is going to enslave this entire earth for 1,000 years. All right. Which is known as the first dominion. All right. The nations are going into hardcore slavery for 1,000 years, especially Esau, right? Then after that 1,000 years, Esau, Edom is going to be eradicated from off the face of this earth, and there's never going to be Edomite ever again. But the other nations are going to be allowed to go back into their lands and live peacefully, man. All right, but they're still going to be governed by us. We're still going to rule over them, and they're going to be under us. And they're going to have to abide by the laws of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Those are the laws that are going to govern this earth in righteousness. All right. So let's go back over here. All right. So it says by 1496. All right. And this also goes into Revelation, the 6th chapter, the red horse and the pale horse. You know, the red horse represents Esau. It says death and hell followed him. All right. So that's Esau, you know. That's all Esau, Edom has done. Bring death upon this earth. His blessing was the sword, right? To cause destruction and chaos and hell and death upon this earth. That was his blessing, the sword. That was given to him by his father Isaac, right? So let's keep reading. It says, by 1496, we already have noted the population of Hispaniola had fallen from 8 million to between 4 and 5 million. By 1508, it was down to less than 100,000. Bro, come on, man. So it went from 8 million people, the island of Hispaniola, to less than 100,000. That's the type of slaughter that Esau, Edom has brought upon you Israelites, man. All right. The island of Hispaniola is you Simeonites and you Levites. All right. You Haitians being from the tribe of Levi of the nation of Israel, and you Dominicans being from the tribe of Simeon of the nation of Israel. All right. So it says down to less than 100,000. By 1518, it numbered less than 20,000. Bro, come on. All right. It says, and by 1535, say the leading scholars on this grim topic, for all practical purposes, the native population was extinct. Crazy, man. All right. It says, in less than the normal lifetime of a single human being, an entire culture of millions of people, thousands of years, residents in their homeland had been exterminated. All right. Woo. All right. And Esau, Edom. So you imagine a type of bro. Imagine a type of slaughtering, killing. All right, and destruction the Lord is getting ready to come upon Esau, Edom. Is getting ready to bring upon Esau, Edom, via the nuclear missiles and the destruction he's coming with the chariots, man. All right. It says the same fate befell the native peoples of the surrounding islands in the Caribbean as well. I told you. All right. All the islands in the Caribbean. All right. It says of all the horrific genocides, all right, that have occurred in the 20th century against Americans, Jews, Gypsies. Well, the person that wrote this book doesn't know the real Jews are the Negroes, all right, of these islands. All right. But it says of all the horrific genocides that have occurred in the 20th century against Armenians, Jews, Gypsies, Igbos, Bengalis, Timorese, Campuchians, Ugandans, and more, none has come close to the destroying of this many. All right. So all the different types of genocides on this earth, nothing comes close to the genocide that fell upon the nation of Israel. All right. Which is you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And the Bible goes into that. All right. Matter of fact, let's get that. That's in the book of Daniel, the 9th chapter. Let's bring that out. All right, Daniel 9. All right, let's get that real quick. All right, Daniel 9 and 12. All right, because many people many other nations dealt with hardships, right? Genocides and slaughters, right? But the type of slaughter that fell upon the nation of Israel, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the West Indies, man, and in the Western Hemisphere, and even before that, all right, the magnitude of Israel's oppression and in captivity was on a whole nother level compared to any type of other genocide or any type of hardship any of these other nations went through, right? So it says Daniel 9 and 11. No, Daniel 9 and 12, it says, and he has confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. Yeah, a great evil fell upon the nation of Israel, all right, because of their wickedness, all right. It says, for under the whole heaven has not been done as has been done upon Israel, all right, because other nations went through hardships, genocide, slaveries, right, captivity, right, but the magnitude and of the captivity and oppression and slavery and violent and cruel and disgusting and torture that fell upon Israel, nothing can compare to it, man. All right, for under, because a lot of people like to say, oh, you Negroes here in the y'all not the only ones that went into slavery. Other people throughout the course of history went into slavery, and people other bad things and cruel things happen to other people. All right, but listen, what the nation of Israel has went through, which is you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, has no other people has went through it, man. All right, it says, for under the whole heaven has not been done as has been done upon Jerusalem, which represents the nation of Israel. All right, so no other vile, cruel acts has fell upon these other nations as it has done upon the true Israelites, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, so that's why we're reading right here. All right, it says, of all the horrific genocides that have occurred in the 20th century against Armenians, Jews, Gypsies, Igbos, Bengalis, Timorese, Campuchians, Ugandans, and more, none has come close to destroying this many. All right, it says, or this great a proportion of wholly innocent people. Woo! All right. It says, and then the Spanish turned their attention to the mainland of Mexico and Central America. All right, which is more of you Latino tribes, man. All right, of the Northern Kingdom of Israel. The Northern Kingdom of Israel is you Latino tribes, man. All right, the tribe of Reuben. All right, the tribe of Ephraim, the tribe of Manasseh, the tribe of Reuben, the tribe of Simeon. All right, the tribe of Naphtali. All right, the tribe of Zebulon. All right, the tribe of Issachar, which is you Mexicans. All right, so now we're turning to the Issacharites. What Esau's about to do to the Issacharites, man? The tribe of Issachar, which is you Mexicans. All right, Issachar means he is hired. That's who you Mexicans really are. That's your true nationality. You Mexicans are Issacharites of the nation of Israel. All right, you're of the tribe of Issachar of the nation of Israel. All right, so it says, unlike most of the Caribbean peoples, the Spanish encountered the inhabitants of Mexico had a good deal of experience with warfare. All right, and you had certain tribes that were experienced in warfare. All right, like matter of fact, when you go to the it's in the book of Chronicles. All right, you had Gad. It says it's the tribe of Reuben, right? Tribe of Reuben, half tribe of Manasseh. All right, experienced in war, KJV. All right, yeah. All right, so this is I'll read it like this. I get the KJV. All right, so this is First Chronicles 5 and 18. It says, the sons of Reuben and the Gadites are the Native American Indians. All right, And the tribe of Reuben is the Seminole Indians. All right, the sons of Reuben and the Gadites, and half of the tribe of Manasseh, of valiant men, men able to bear buckler and sword, and to shoot with the bow, and skillful in war. All right. So these men were skillful in war, man. All right, the Israelites were warlike men. All right, our people has always been strong and a warlike people, man. You know. So it says right here, unlike most of the Caribbean peoples, the Spanish encountered the inhabitants of Mexico. All right, had a good deal of experience with warfare. All right, to be sure, the Aztec warriors were trained in highly individualistic fighting techniques. Since the aim of battle was not to kill masses of the enemy, but rather to capture and bring back a single worthy opponent to be sacrificed at the following year's ceremony of fertility. Still, those fighting skills were formidable, all right, and when combined with the Aztecs' enormous numerical advantage, they were more than a match for any invading army out of Europe. As the European interlopers, all right, own accounts made clear, individual Indian warriors repeatedly showed themselves the equal or more of any among the Spanish militia. All right, the scriptures say, and one people shall be stronger than the other. All right, but to fulfill prophecy, Esau, Edom had to overtake us. All right, matter of fact, let's get that. Let's get that in what's that? Genesis 25, right? Let's get that in the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter, right? Let me see real quick. All right, Genesis 25 and 23. I was looking through my pages, all right, to see where it was at. All right, so this is talking about Jacob and Esau when they were born, right? So it says, let's start at Genesis 25 and 24. It says, Genesis 25 and 24, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, talking about Rebecca, all right, behold, there were twins in her womb, talking about Jacob and Esau, right? And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau, all right? Yeah, because Esau was born without pigment, all right? Esau being the forefather of the Edomite race. The Edomite race today is the so-called Caucasian race, all right? They have no pigment, all right? So-called white people are born red, all right? When they come out the womb, they're born bright red. All right, and that's why it says, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, all right, and called his name Esau, all right. Esau, in the Hebrew, is Ishashua, which means wasted away is he, all right, because that's what he looked like when he was born. He was born without pigment. It looked like he was half dead, all right, because when you die, your skin turns pale, right, and he had that pale skin, all right. He was born red without pigment, all right. So it looked like he was wasted away. He was wasted, man. Half dead. All right. It says Genesis 25:26, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel. All right. And his name was called Jacob. All right. And Isaac was 80 old when she bare him. All right. And the boys grew, Jacob and Esau, right? And Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and that's one of the characteristics of Edomites, of Esau, all right? That they're cunning hunters, good hunters, that they're people of the field. You see, and how is that today? All right, Esau, Edom, he's a good hunter. That's why they're always in the woods hunting, deers, bears, whatever it may be. That's why in their house they got the heads of animals on their wall, man. Deers and lions and bears, they have bearskin rugs, you know, because they're cunning hunters, so-called white people, right? It says, and Esau was a cunning hunter, right? And because you know, also because their blessing was the sword. Even though Esau didn't receive that blessing just yet. All right, that's in the 27th chapter. All right, but until this day, they have that blessing of the sword, and they're still cunning hunters. You know. All right, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob, all right, the Israelites, and Jacob was a plain man and dwelling in tents. And that goes to till this day. We us Israelites, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, we plain as hell. We simple people, man. We just like to chill and cool back, chill at the crib. That's the type of man Jacob was, man. All right, which the nation of Israel comes out of Jacob, right? And Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. Until this day, our people are the same way. We're plain people. We're simple folks, man. Sit back at the crib, drink some wine, a few beers, watch a movie, bake some cookies. We cool. We a cool, laid back people, right? And Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. All right. It says, and Isaac loved Esau because he died. Excuse me. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. All right. Oh, okay. The whole point I wanted was in verse 22, but I started at verse 24. All right. I thought I was going to read down, and it was going to be down here. All right. So let me just go to Genesis 25 and 23. It says, and the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb. Yeah, Jacob and Esau. All right. We're in Rebekah's womb. All right. Two different people, two different nations were in her womb. All right. Esau being the forefather of the Edomite race. All right. And Jacob being the forefather of the Israelite race. So she had two nations of people in her womb, the Israelites and the Edomites. All right. It says, and the Lord Yahweh said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. Yeah, two different types of people, two manner of people. Two totally different people shall be separated from her bowels, from her womb. All right. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people. All right. Now, Jacob, the Israelites, the Negro, Latino, Native American men, are naturally stronger than the Edomites, the so-called Caucasian race. The Lord said, one people shall be stronger than the other people, man. Right? And the elder, which was Esau, because he came out first, all right? And the elder shall serve the younger. Yeah, they're going to serve us in the kingdom of heaven, the Edomites. All right? Going to serve the Israelites in the kingdom of heaven. All right? That was the whole point, all right, to get this, all right? And the one people shall be stronger than the other, all right? The Israelites are going to be stronger than the Edomites, naturally, man. All right? Esau has to train, to be stronger than us. All right? That's why I brought that out, because what we're reading right here. All right? It says right here, as the European interlopers, all right, own accounts make clear, individual Indian warriors repeatedly showed themselves the equal and more of among the Spanish militia. All right? It says hold on, did I skip it? It says, and when combined with the Aztecs' enormous numerical advantage, they were more than a match for any invading army out of Europe. And the European interlopers' own accounts make clear, individual Indian warriors repeatedly showed themselves the equal or more of any among the Spanish militia, you see? All right, it says, the story of one Aztec soldier who, in hand-to-hand combat, fought off a handful of Spanish horsemen. All right, when they could not bring him down. All right, one of the Spaniards threw his lance at the Indian, who caught it and fought for another hour before being shot by two archers and then stabbed. All right, one people shall be stronger than the other people. Right? It says, but it was prophecy for us, to come down and be brought low, for Esau Edom to rule over us. All right, his Esau Edom's blessing was to have the fatness of the earth, meaning complete control of the earth. So there's going to come a time where the Edomites were going to rule this planet Earth. All right, for a hot minute. All right, and that's also in the book of Revelation, the 20th chapter. All right, when he shall be loosed for a season. All right, that small season is right now. All right, that Esau Edom is loosed. All right, it says so where was I at? It says was but one among innumerable such reports from the conquistadors themselves. All right, the Indians' battlefield experience, however, was the result of complex political rivalries that had existed in the region for centuries. Rivalries, all right, rivalries the Spanish under Hernando Cortez were able to turn to their advantage. As one scholar of Aztec military strategy recently has emphasized, while the Spanish conquest is now seen as a major watershed in the history of the New World to various competing Indian polities, all right, at the time, the Spanish were simply another group, albeit an alien one, seeking to gain political dominance in central Mexico. As such, although the first people the Spanish confronted, all right, the tax Caltex, all right, could easily have defeated the conquistadors, all right, they saw in them instead potential confederates against their traditional adversaries. It was thus with a formidable army of Indian allies. At one point, Cortez refers to 150,000 warriors who accompanied his band of less than 1,000 Spanish soldiers. Uh, that the conquistadors marched on Tenochtitlan. I always forget how this word is pronounced. All right, let's keep reading though. It says rather than meeting resistance when he approached the great city, Cortez was greeted in friendship and was welcomed by Montezuma. In retrospect, this behavior of the Aztec leader has usually seemed foolish or cowardly or naive to Western historians, but Mesoamerican political traditions had always dictated that war was to be announced before it was launched, and the reasons for war were always made clear beforehand. You see, that sounds fair. All right, they were always, they our people always dealt with integrity and dignity, man. If I'm using the right words, right? You know, before war was brought amongst our people themselves. All right, the reason for war was announced before they went to war. It was made clear beforehand. You know, they didn't do no sneak attacks or nothing like that. It says right here, it says, but Mesoamerican political traditions had always dictated that war was to be announced before it was launched, you see? And the reasons for war were always made clear beforehand. All right? War was a sacred endeavor, and it was sacrilegious, all right, to engage in it with treachery or fraud, all right? So there was never a fraudulent reason, all right, to engage war, just because you want to. You just want to kill, you know what I'm saying? That's Esau though. All right? That wasn't our people. That wasn't the Mexicans. Right? All right? In fact, as Inga Clendenin, but Esau being Esau, he's just a vile being, man. Always just launching war. It says, in fact, as Inga Clendenin recently had noted, all right, so important was this notion of fair testing that food and weapons were sent to the selected target city as part of the challenge, there being no virtue in defeating a weakened enemy. So they even sent food to the enemy so they could have energy and strength before they fought in war, because there was no, again, like it says right here, there being no virtue in defeating a weakened enemy. So things were played fair, all right, amongst our people, man. All right, our people having dignity, integrity. It says, in this case, all right, therefore, not only was there no reason for Montezuma to suppose Cortez intended to launch an invasion, All right, I'm right here. But Cortez had plainly announced in advance that his purpose were not warlike, that he came as an ambassador of peace, but like the scriptures say, right? His words are smoother than butter, but war was in his heart, because that's how Esau Edom comes. He comes with that peace, that fake ass peace, right? But his heart is to what? Slaughter you, right? He gets on your good side, right? He comes in peace, oh, come in peace, and then next thing you know, you're being slaughtered, all right? Their words are smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. That's also in the first book of Maccabees too. Let me see if I could grab that real quick. Let me flip through my pages real quick. Right? Yeah. All right. When you go into the book of Maccabees, right? The first book of Maccabees, it says this. Let's get it. Right? Let's get it. First book of Maccabees, the first chapter, right? The 30th verse. All right? It says, and spake peaceable words unto them. All right? But all was deceit. All right? You see? That's how Esau Edom comes. He comes with peaceable words. All right? But those words are full of deceit, man. Because his true intentions is to slaughter you. You see? All right? So let's also get that. His words were smoother. Is it smoother than butter or smoother than oil? All right? Let's get it real quick. Smoother than oil, KJV, but war was in his heart. All right, Psalms. All right, this is the book of Psalms, 55 and 21. All right, let's get it. All right, it says, he has put forth his hand. No, verse 21, Psalms 55 and 21. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Woo! All right, you see? And that's how Esau Edom come. All right, with words that are softer than oil. But what does it say here? Yet were they drawn swords, and that's how they came to the Indians, man. All the natives of the Western islands, and here in America and Mexico. All right, they came peaceably, right? But war was in his heart. They came to slaughter and enslave. You see? All right, so let's go back. It says, but Cortez has plainly announced in advance that his purpose were not warlike, that he came as an ambassador of peace. All right? But it says right here, once the Spanish were inside the city gates, however, it soon became apparent that this was far from a conciliatory mission. All right? See? They didn't come with that. They didn't really come with peace. Their words were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. All right? The scriptures don't lie, man. The scriptures is on point. All right? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. Man, the scriptures is nasty, bro. All right? It says, in the midst of a great public celebration of the feast of the god of, I don't know how to pronounce this, all right? The Spanish, led by Cortez's ruthless lieutenant, Pedro de Alvarado, all right, entered surrounded the ceremonial arena. It was filled, recalled with 16th century Spanish historian Bernardino, all right, de Sahagún, all right, with nobles, priests, and soldiers, and throngs of other people. All right, still unaware of the conquistadors, the Spaniards, Esau Edom, right? Still unaware of the conquistadors' intentions, says Sahagún. All right, the Indians thought that the Spanish were just admiring the style of their dancing and playing and singing, and so continue with their celebration and songs. Then the assault began. You see? So their intent, they came with those peaceable words, right? But then the assault began, all right? But war was in his heart again, all right? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. All right. So it says, then the assault began. All right. The first Spaniards started to, excuse me, I'm a little excited, you know. It says the first Spaniards to start fighting suddenly attacked those who were playing the music, all right, for the singers and dancers. They chopped off their hands and their heads so that they fell down dead. All right. Then all, and this is when it was, you know, celebrating their false gods, man. All right, and this is why Esau. This is why the Lord brought Esau, Edom toward Israel, man. All right, to do this. All right. It says, then all the other Spaniards began to cut off heads, arms, and legs, and to disembowel the Indians. Woo! All right. It said some had their heads cut off, others were cut in half, and others had their bellies slit open immediately to fall dead. Others dragged their entrails along until they collapsed. Those who reached the exits were slain by the Spaniards guarding them, and others jumped over the walls of the courtyard, while yet others climbed up the temple, and still others, seeing no escape, threw themselves down among the slaughter and escaped by feigning death. Yeah, by faking their death. All right. It says, so great was the bloodshed, right? Going back to Ezekiel, all right, 35, all right? Since thou hast not hated blood, all right, blood shall pursue thee, all right? So great was the bloodshed that revoltless of blood ran through the courtyard like water in heavy rain. Woo! That's crazy, man. That's the type of vileness and slaughter that Esau Edom has brought upon you, Jakes, you Israelites, man. All right. So great was the slime of blood and entrails in the courtyard, and so great was the stench that it was both terrifying and heartrending. Woo! All right. Now that nearly all were fallen and dead, the Spaniards went searching for, all right, those who had climbed up the temple and those who had hidden among the dead, killing all those they found alive. All right. All right. So, I'll stop right there. That'll be the end of it. All right. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Raptazah, this lesson was edifying, man. You receive all this information. This is all, bro, come on, man. Read and study. All right. You see how Esau Edom is, man. They has all throughout the course of history, all Esau Edom has done was shed blood, bro. That's all he knows. The scriptures say, and death followed him, and unto him was given a great sword. You see? But Lord willing, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Raptazah, this lesson was edifying. All right, and if it be the Lord's will, I'll pick up and from here and do a part 5. All right. So with that being said, unto the next one, Shalom.